Let's go. Hello and welcome to Native Speakers Academy's Underground Education. My name is G and I am your host. This is designed to be a short digital media netcast in which we are going to look at different issues related to education, schools, society, and learning in general. Our aim, as always, is to highlight ideas that empower you to take more control over your own life. And we are trying out a new format this evening where we're not going to just select one subject and read through it, but have a look at a few different ideas that have popped up on the net through the day today. Let's see how it goes. So, what we're going to do is start with an article entitled 5 Quiet Toddler Activities Ideas for Independent Play by Alyssa Marquez. And this is from the website creativewithkids.com. Remember that you can find links to these articles posted along with this audio on the net. So the article begins. 5 Quiet Toddler Activities. Would you like to sit by me? I have an activity for you. Magic words from my 2-year-old daughter. Yes, Mama, Tibbity, she'll say. So these are the kinds of things I'll get out for my toddler when I'm trying to get something done with my other kids, and we're all sitting at the same table. They are quiet, quick to grab, not too messy, and don't require lots of supervision. The first idea is stickers. Make marks on a piece of paper to show your toddler how to cover them with the stickers. And this website also has nice images provided as well to show how this lady does the activities. Next is rip and tear. Give pieces of paper and a bucket and show your toddler how to rip off pieces and put them all in a bucket. They can be long, thin strips, they can be short, fat strips. Of course, long, thin strips are more tempting to tear up. And there's more information in a link provided, which takes us to art with toddlers. Remember that destruction can be very satisfying to kids at this age. Contact paper. Now you've got a bucket of paper bits. Contact paper is in order. Tape down a piece of contact paper, sticky side up, and show your toddler how pieces stick to the contact paper and let them take it from there. Yes, you're providing a little sticky board for the kids to then take the pieces they have torn up and stick them onto the board. This can be done with special paper, or this can be done with tape, or perhaps you can invent your own little way of doing this. It could be done with paint on glass, for example. Treasures. After a quick contact paper art piece, we grab this collection of boxes for a mini treasure hunt. And there's a picture with some little boxes there. Use any random assortment of things that open. In the smallest bin or bag, put something like cotton balls and a few treasures. Put all of these containers together and let your toddler figure out how they open as they search for the treasure inside. Once they get it, you can ask them to put it into different boxes. You can ask them to hide the treasure for you, and so on. It's simple, but toddlers love to tote around treasures. And while they're loading up boxes or bags, hiding treasures can be fun for them. Remember as well that you can mix up these ideas. So that was our first article today from creativewithkids.com. Moving on, I would like to take a look at the next article, which is Teaching Children to Think by Raising Children Who Read. And this is written by Sally Clarkson, and it's taken from her website and blog post itakejoy.com. So, what is she writing about here? Let's take a little look together. Teaching children to think by raising children who read. The article begins with a C.S. Lewis quote. A children's story which is only enjoyed by children is a bad children's story. Statistics have shown that in a class of 20 students, few if any, teachers can even find 5 minutes of time in a day to devote to reading with each student. These studies have also come to find that the majority of children in our generation will stop reading as soon as they no longer have to. This absolutely breaks my heart for a number of reasons. Children are no longer delighting in reading, getting swept away in a captivating story, or enjoying the wonder and fun that comes from learning. I think as video killed the radio star, films murdered the books. As parents, God has trusted us with a very important job. We are here not only to be mothers and fathers, I would add, but to be teachers and instructors in all that is good and lovely in the world. In my sweet Sarah's book, Read for the Heart, she quotes, "The first thing that a young heart needs is an education in all that is good." The main reason behind why children won't find joy and excitement in reading is the fact that they are not being exposed to great books. We don't live in a culture that is filled with very much excellence. While we may not be able to control the media of our generation, we must take on the responsibility of exposing our children to excellent books that will encourage, inspire, and help them flourish into adults who have a love of literature. There was a sentence there, we don't live in a culture that is filled with very much excellence. I would slightly disagree with that and argue that there is excellence, it's just quite hard to find. We often look in the wrong places. In our home, each child has his or her own bookshelf, and every Christmas everyone gets their own books. Book baskets are all over the house with picture books, magazines, art books, and piled with all sorts of genres of interesting tales. In our library we have overstuffed recliners so anyone can go and read in comfort at any time. At bedtime we keep baskets of short stories and picture books and chapter books to keep going one more chapter each night. And of course, we always follow with CDs of our favorite music that can place beauty in little heads as they drift off. Mediocrity is natural. There are a lot of time wasters out there. However, as good mothers and fathers, God has called us to the supernatural, the above and beyond of ideals that Jesus wants us to understand. We must rise above what our culture views as normal activity and cultivate minds and hearts in our children that are excellent, joyous, and full of wonder. What we feed our children's minds will in many ways determine what they will have in their soul to respond to when they are adults. And again, we have to lead by example. So, that was teaching children to think. And there were some nice ideas in there about spreading books and art and other kinds of literature around the house. I think it's also quite common to have a selection of magazines perhaps kept in a bathroom or any other place where people will be able to find a quiet moment. Following this, we can take a look at the webpage My Science Academy. Remember, links are attached to the audio. Who have posted an interesting article entitled "Here's How the World's Most Brilliant Minds scheduled their days." Not rescheduled, just scheduled their days. And it's looking at an average period of 24 hours or how that average period of 24 hours was spent by famous minds at various points during their life. It's divided into such categories as primary work, sleep, exercise, social activities and meals, other work, and making ends meet. It begins with Charles Darwin, everyone's favorite natural selectionist. According to this information, he spent 1/4 of his day sleeping. He would lie awake in bed at night solving problems. He would take 3 walks a day, and he included time for idleness, doing nothing. He would spend 20 minutes a day reading a scientific book as well. Don't know if that tells us much. Gustav Flaubert, while writing Madame Bovary, he appeared to divide various areas of his day into light work and real work. He would spend a considerable number of hours. Now, these circles in these charts, if you are following the information, have been divided rather bizarrely, so that it's very difficult to read what the information is exactly telling us. So we've got 1, 2, he would spend 2 hours a day doing what he called real work. And 1, 2, 4 hours a day sleeping. That's not very much, is it? Ludwig van Beethoven. Oh, what is the point in going through this? It's quite probable that these famous people change their habits every day, and let's just pick out the key points. He enjoyed beer and several hours in a pub every day. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart would spend several hours a day courting, and he'd spend half an hour a day dressing. Maya Angelou would reread work that she'd written each day. Immanuel Kant would visit a pub each day. Sigmund Freud would smoke 20 cigars a day. That's not a habit of a healthy man. John Milton would have an aide read him the Bible for 30 minutes each day. Interesting. Henri de Balzac would sleep early on in the evening and do most of his writing at night, along with consuming around 50 cups of black coffee per day. That can't have been healthy for his heart. Victor Hugo was awakened by a daily gunshot from a fort, followed by freshly brewed coffee and a morning letter from his mistress. W.H. Auden, well, he enjoyed coffee and a crossword, and strong vodka martinis during his creative period. Charles Dickens would enjoy spending half an hour on his breakfast. Needed absolute quiet for his writing, and would spend an hour and a half a day on a vigorous walk through either London or the countryside. Tchaikovsky enjoyed his sleep and liked to take 2 walks a day. Le Corbusier, what can we say about him? Artistic contemplation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5 hours of artistic contemplation. Some people might class that as unemployment. Benjamin Franklin, hyperactive man of everything. Work, 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 basically. And Thomas Mann, let's see, cigarettes with his primary writing hours, tea with the family, a short walk for half an hour or less, and gramophone records. Well, what can we get from all of this? There are no exact patterns. Each person has to find what fits them the best. Anyway, the graphs are interesting to look at. I'm not sure that they give us too much information. Perhaps they avoid the most important things. Moving on. The website Spirit Science and Metaphysics.com has an article today. How to Stop Overthinking, 9 Simple Habits. It reads, what is holding people back from the life that they truly want to live? I'd say that one very common and destructive thing is that they think too much. Depends what kind of people you're talking about, really. They overthink every little problem until it becomes bigger and scarier than it actually is. They overthink positive things until they don't look so positive anymore. People tend to overanalyze and deconstruct things so that the happiness that comes from just enjoying something in the moment disappears. Now, thinking things through can be a great thing, of course, but being an overthinker can result in becoming someone who stands still in life. In becoming someone who self-sabotages the good things that happen in life. I know I used to overthink things a lot, and it held me back in ways that weren't fun at all. But in the last 8 years or so, I have learned how to make this issue so small that it very rarely pops up anymore. And if it does, I don't know what to do then to overcome it. In this article, I would like to share 9 habits that have helped me in a big way. In a big way to become simpler and smarter thinker, and to live a happier and less fearful life. So, if we're ready for the rules. Number 1, put things in a wider perspective. It's very easy to fall into the trap of overthinking minor things in life. So when you are thinking about something, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years or even in 5 weeks? I have found that widening the perspective by using the simple question can snap me out of overthinking and help me to let that situation go and focus my time and energy on something that is actually important to me. Number 2, set short time limits for decisions. If you do not have time for when you must make a decision and take action, then you can just keep turning your thoughts around and around and view them from all angles in your mind for a very long time. So, learn to become better at making decisions and to spring into action by setting deadlines in your daily life, no matter if it's a small or big decision. Here's what have worked for me. For small decisions like if I should go and do the dishes or respond to an email or work out, I usually give myself 30 seconds or less to make a decision. For somewhat larger decisions that perhaps would have taken me days or weeks to think through in the past, I use a deadline for 30 minutes or for the end of the working day. Point 3. Become a person of action. When you know how to get started with taking action consistently each day, then you'll procrastinate less by overthinking. Setting deadlines is one thing that has helped me to become much more of a person of action. Taking small steps forward and only focusing on getting one small step done at a time is another habit that has really worked well. It works so well because you do not feel overwhelmed, and so you do not want to flee into procrastination. And even though you may be afraid, taking just a step is such a small thing that you do not get paralyzed in fear. Number 4, realizing that you cannot control everything. Trying to think things through 50 times can be a way to try to control everything, to cover every eventuality so that you do not risk making a mistake, fail, or even look like a fool. But those things are part of living a life where you truly stretch your comfort zone. Everyone who you may admire and who has lived a life that inspires you has failed. They have made mistakes. And I have to say that the prepositions in this article are all over the place and the first and third person are completely mixed up, but we'll try to get through it because it's useful. But in most cases, they have also seen these things as valuable feedback to learn from. Those things that may look negative have taught them a lot and have been invaluable to help them to grow. So, stop trying to control everything. Trying to do so simply doesn't work because no one can see all possible scenarios in advance. This is, of course, easier said than done. So do it in small steps, if you like. Point 5. Say stop in situations where you know you cannot think straight. Sometimes when I'm hungry or I'm lying in bed and I'm about to go to sleep, negative thoughts start buzzing around in my mind. In the past, they could do quite a bit of damage. Nowadays, I've become good at catching them quickly and saying to myself, no, we're not going to think about this now. I know that when I'm hungry or sleepy and in my mind sometimes tends to be vulnerable to not thinking clearly and to negativity. So I follow up my no phrase and I say to myself that I will think this situation or issue through when I know that my mind will work much better. For example, after I have eaten something or in the morning after I have gotten my hours of sleep. It took a bit of practice to get this to work, but I have gotten pretty good at postponing thinking in this way. And I know from experience that when I revisit a situation with some level-headed thinking, then in 80% of the cases the issue is very small to non-existent. And if there is a real issue, then my mind is prepared to deal with it in much better and more constructive ways. Number 6, don't get lost in vague fears. Another trap that I have fallen into many times is that I have spurred on overthinking and that I have gotten lost in vague fears about a situation in my life. And so my mind running wild has caused disaster scenarios about what could happen if I do something. So I have learned to ask myself, honestly, what is the worst that could happen? And when I have figured out what the worst that could happen actually is, then I can also spend a little time to think about what I can do if that often pretty unlikely thing happens. I have found the worst that could realistically happen is usually something that is not as scary as what my mind running wild with vague fear could produce. Finding clarity in this way usually only takes a few minutes of time and a bit of energy, and it can save you a lot of time and suffering. Point 7. Workout. This might sound a bit odd, but my experience working out, especially with lifting weights, can help me let go of inner tensions and worries. It often also makes me feel more decisive, and when I was more of an overthinker, then it was often my go-to method of changing the headspace. The headspace that I was in, changing it into a more constructive one. Point 8. Spend more of your time in the present moment of now. By being in the present moment in your everyday life, rather than in the past or a possible future in your mind, you can replace more and more of the time you usually spend on overthinking things with just being here right now instead. 3 ways that I often use to reconnect with the present moment are: slow down. Slow down how you do whatever you are doing right now. Move slower, talk slower, or ride your bicycle more slowly, for example. By doing so, you become more aware of how you use your body and what is happening all around you right now. Tell yourself, now I am. I often tell myself this, now I am X. And X could be brushing my teeth, taking a walk in the woods, or doing the dishes. This simple reminder helps my mind to stop wandering and brings my focus back to what is happening in this moment. Disrupt and reconnect. If you feel you are getting lost in overthinking, then disrupt that thought by, in your mind, shouting this to yourself. Stop. Then reconnect with the present moment by taking just 1 to 2 minutes to focus fully on what is going on around you. Take it all in with all your senses. Feel it, hear it, smell it, see it, sense it to your skin. Finally, you can spend more of your time with people who do not overthink things. Your social environment plays a big part, and not just the people and groups close to you in real life, but also what you read, listen, and watch. The blogs, books, forums, movies, podcasts, and music in your life are all important. So think about if there are any sources in your life, close by or further away, that encourage these trends and create more overthinking in your mind. And think about what people or sources, that have the opposite effect on you. Find ways to spend more of your time and attention with the people and sources that have a positive effect on your thinking, and less on the influences that create the trends to strengthen your overthinking habit. So, those were 9 principles and ideas to stop overthinking and to focus on specific ideas. Let's see how much time we've got left today. I think that might be enough. Let's finish with openculture.com, who have a list of the best opening and closing sentences in English language novels. Let's pick and choose a few. Are these openers or closers? I don't know. James Joyce, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, wrote, I go to encounter for the millionth time the reality of experience, and to forge into the smithy of my soul the uncreated conscience of my race. Jane Austen, in Pride and Prejudice. For what do we live but to make sport for our neighbours and laugh at them in our turn? Vladimir Nabokov in Lolita. There is nothing more atrociously cruel than an adored child. And there's a nice list that you can explore. All of the articles referenced here will be linked in this post on the internet, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Native Speakers Academy is a small independent center for educational theory and research. Please support us by visiting our websites. They're all over the net. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Google+, and in 1,001 other places. If you enjoyed any information from the articles that were presented here, then please share the original articles and promote the work of these writers, or you can send a link to your friends. Send a link of this presentation. Anyway, back to the point. I hope to talk to you again soon. I wish you a good day, and I hope that you stay safe. So until I speak to you again, goodbye for now.